Continuing Yehudit. Now the children of Yisrael that dwelt in Yehuda heard all that Holofernes, the chief captain of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, had done to the nations, and after what manner he had spoiled all their temples and brought them to naught. Therefore they were exceedingly afraid of him, and were troubled for Jerusalem, and for the temple of God is noun and verb, their God. For they were newly returned from the captivity, and all the people of Yehuda were lately gathered together, and the vessels and the altar and the house were sanctified after the profanation. Therefore they sent unto all the coast of Samaria and the villages to Betharon and Belman and Yerchu and to Chapa and Asora and the valley of Shalom, and possessed themselves beforehand of all the tops of the high mountains, and fortified the villages that were in them, and laid up victuals for the provision of war, for their fields were of late reaped. Then it was declared to Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Assur, that the children of Yisrael had prepared for war, and had shut up the passages of the hill country, and had fortified all the tops of the high hills, and had laid impediments in the campaign countries, where with he was very angry, and called all the princes of Moab and the captains of Ammon and all the governors of the sea coast. Oh, Champagne, okay. Then came unto him all the chiefs of the children of Esau. I don't remember how that's spelled. Is it Ashu or something? All the governors of the people of Moab and the captains of the sea coast, and said, Let our Lord now hear a word, that there be not an overthrow in thine army. For this people of the children of Yisrael do not trust in their spears, but in the height of the mountains wherein they dwell, because it is not easy to come up to the tops of their mountains. Now therefore, my Lord, fight not against them in battle array, and there shall not so much as one man of thy people perish. Remain in thy camp, and keep all the men of thine army, and let thy servants get into their hands the fountains of water which issueth forth from the foot of the mountain, for all the inhabitants of Bethulia have their water thence. So shall thirst kill them, and they shall give up their city. And we and our people shall go up to the tops of the mountains that are near, and will camp upon them, to watch that none go out of the city. So they and their wives and their children shall be consumed with famine, and before the sword come against them, they shall be overthrown in the streets wherein they dwell. Thus shalt thou render them an evil reward, because they rebelled, and met not thy person peaceably. And these words pleased Holofernes and all his servants, and they appointed to do as they had spoken. So the camp of the children of Ammon departed, and with them 5,000 of the Syrians, and they pitched in the valley, and took the waters and the fountains of the waters of the children of Yisrael. And the children of Ashau went up with the children of Ammon. They camped in the hill country over against Dothaim, and they sent some of them toward the south and toward the east over Ekrabal, which is near to Chusi, that is upon the brook Machmer, or is it Mochmer? And the rest of the army of the Assyrians camped in the plain, and covered the face of the whole land, and their tents and carriages were pitched to a very great multitude. Then the children of Yisrael cried unto God as noun and verb, their God, because their heart failed, for all their enemies had compassed them round about, and there was no way to escape out from among them. Thus all the company of Assur remained about them, both their footmen, chariots, and horsemen, 34 days, so that all their vessels of water failed, all the inhabitants of Bethulia, and the cisterns were emptied, and they had not water to drink their fill for 1 day, for they gave them drink by measure. Therefore their young children were out of heart, and their women and young men fainted for thirst, and fell down in the streets of the city, and by the passages of the gates, and there was no longer any strength in them. Then all the people assembled to Ozias, and the chief of the city, both young men and women and children, and cried with a loud voice, and said before all the elders, God be judge between us and you, for ye have done us great injury in that ye have not required peace of the children of Assur. For now we have no helper, but God hath sold us into their hands, that we should be thrown down before them with thirst and great destruction. Now therefore call them unto you, and deliver the whole city for a spoil unto the people of Holofernes, and to all his army. For it is better for us to be made a spoil unto them than to die for thirst. For we will be his servants, that our souls may live, and not see the death of our infants before our eyes, nor our wives, nor our children to die. Then there was a great weeping with one consent in the midst of the assembly, and they cried unto God as noun and verb, divinity, with a loud voice. Then said Osias to them, Brethren, be of good courage, let us endure 5 days, in the which space God as noun and verb, our divinity, may turn his mercy toward us, and he will not forsake us utterly. And if these days pass, and there come no help unto us, I will do according to your word. And he dispersed the people, every one to their own charge, and they went unto the walls and towers of their city, and sent the women and children into their houses, and they were very low brought in the city. Now at that time Judith heard thereof, which was the daughter of Merari, the son of Ox. I have no idea, because there's no X in Aramea or something, but this is the oldest ones of this text is in Greek, right? The son of Yusuf, the son of Asiel, the son of Eliah, the son of Ananiah, the son of Gideon, the son of Raphaim, the son of Akitho, the son of Eliu, the son of Eliab, the son of Nathanael, the son of Samuel, the son of Salasadeh, the son of Yeshral, and Manasseh was her husband, and her tribe and kindred, who died in the barley harvest. For as he stood overseeing them that bound sheaves in the field, the heat came upon his head, and he fell on his bed and died in the city of Bethulia, and they buried him with his fathers in the field between Dothaim and Belamo. Now some of the ths are really t's. I'm not sure. It's not universal what they're rendering as. But so Judith was a widow in her house 3 years and 4 months, and she made her tent upon the top of her house, and put on sackcloth upon her loins, and wore her widow's apparel, and she fasted all the days of her widowhood, save the eves of the Sabbaths, and the Sabbaths, and the eves of the new moons, and the new moons, and the feasts and solemn days of the house of Yeshua. She was also of a goodly countenance, and very beautiful to behold, and her husband Manasseh had left her gold and silver and menservants and maidservants and cattle and lands, and she remained upon them, and there was none that gave her an ill word, for she feared God greatly. Now, when she heard the evil words of the people against the governor, that they fainted for lack of water, for Judith had heard all the words that, is it Asia or Osias, I don't, had spoken unto them, that he had sworn to deliver the city unto the Assyrians after 5 days. Then she sent her waiting woman that had the government of all things that she had, to call upon Asias and Chabaris. If it's Greek, that may be just Chaber, and Charm. And, you leave off the S when you're, because Greek, they add S and PS and N and stuff to the end. Ancient city, the ancients of the city, to names in other languages. And they came unto her, and she said unto them, Hear me now, O ye governors of the inhabitants of Bethulia, for your words that have spoken before the people this day are not right, touching this oath which ye made and pronounced between God and you, and have promised to deliver the city into our enemies, unless within these days God is down in Verb turned to help you. And now, who are ye that have tempted divinity this day, and stand instead of divinity among the children of men, and now try God as noun and verb, almighty, but ye shall never know anything, for ye cannot find the depth of the heart of a man, neither can ye perceive the things that he thinketh. Then how can ye search out God that hath made all these things, and know his mind, or comprehend his purpose? Nay, my brethren, provoke not God as noun and verb, our divinity, to anger. For if he will not help us within these 5 days, he hath power to defend us when he will, even every day, or destroy us before our enemies. Do not bind the counsels of God as a noun and verb, our God, for God is not a man that he may be threatened, neither is he as the Son of Man, that he should be wavering. God's not children. It doesn't have a personality that's a child, right? Therefore, let us wait for salvation of him, and call upon him to help us, and he will hear our voice, if it pleaseth him. Then said Athia to her, All that thou hast spoken, hast thou, or is it just Asi, has spoken with a good heart, and there is none that may gainsay thy words. For this is not the first wherein thy wisdom is manifested, but from the beginning of thy days all the people have known thy understanding, because the disposition of thine heart is good. But the people were very thirsty, and compelled us to do unto them as we have spoken, and to bring an oath upon ourselves which we will not break. Therefore now pray thou for us, because thou art a godly woman, and God as a noun and verb will send us rain to fill our cisterns, and we shall faint no more. Then said Judith to them, Hear, and I will do a thing which shall go throughout all generations to the children of our nation. Ye shall stand this night in the gate, and I will go forth with my waiting woman. And within the days that ye have promised to deliver the city to our enemies, God as noun and verb will visit Yisrael by mine hand, and inquire not ye of mine act, for I will not declare it unto you till the things be finished that I do. Then said Asi and the princes unto her, Go in peace, and God as a noun and verb, divinity be before thee. to take vengeance on her enemies. So they returned from the tent and went to their wards. Then Yehudit fell upon her face, and put ashes upon her head, and uncovered the sackcloth wherewith she was clothed. And about the time that the incense of that evening was offered in Jerusalem in the house of God as noun and verb, Yehudit cried with a loud voice and said, Divinity, my God, maybe Elohim, Elohi, Shema, hear me, also a widow. Behold, the Assyrians are multiplied in their powers. They are exalted with horse and man. They glory in the strength of their footmen. They trust in shields and spear and bow and sling, and know not that thou art God as noun and verb, that breakest the battles. God as noun and verb is thy name. Throw down their strength in thy power, and bring down their force in thy wrath, for they have purposed to defile the sanctuary, and to pollute the tabernacle, where thy glorious name resteth, and to cast down with sword the horn of thy altar. Behold their pride, and send thy wrath upon their heads. Give unto mine hand, which am a widow, the power which I have conceived. Smite by the deceit of my lips the servant with the prince, and the prince with the servant. Break down their stateliness by the hand of a woman. Well, in a way, that can be something that's about to happen in my country, right? Now after that had ceased to cry unto the divinity of Yeshua, and had made an end of all these words, she arose where she had fallen down, and called her maid, and went down into the house in which she abode in the Shabbat days, and in her feast days, and pulled off the sackcloth which she had on, and put on the garments of her widowhood, and washed her body all over with water, and anointed herself with precious ointment, and braided the hair of her head, and put on attire upon it, and put on her garments of gladness, wherewith she was clad during the life of Manasseh her husband. And she took sandals upon her feet, and put about her bracelets, and her chains, and her rings, and her earrings, and all her ornaments, and decked herself bravely to allure the eyes of all men that should see her. That doesn't quite sound like appropriate behavior, but let's see. Then shall she give her maid a bottle of wine, a cruse of oil, and filled a bag with parched kernels, and lumps of figs, and with fine bread. So she folded all these things together, and laid them upon her. Thus they went forth to the gate of the city of Bethulia, and found standing there Asi, and the ancients of the city, Chopper and Charm. And when they saw her, that her countenance was altered, and her apparel was changed, they wondered at her beauty very greatly, and said unto her, Divinity, the God of our dwelling, is it Elhinu? That's fathers isn't quite the thing. But I guess thematically it makes sense why it's went how it became that in Hebrew. Give thee favor, and accomplish thine enterprises to the glory of the children of Yisrael, and to the exaltation of Jerusalem. And they worshipped divinity. And she said unto them, Command the gates of the city to be opened unto me, that I may go forth to accomplish the things whereof ye have spoken with me. So they commanded the young men to open unto her as she had spoken. And when they had done so, Yehudit went out, she and her maid with her. And the men of the city looked after her until she was gone down the mountain, and till she had passed the valley and could see her no more. Thus they went straight forth in the valley, and the first watch of the Assyrians met her, and took her and asked her, Of what people art thou? And whence comest thou? And whither goest thou? And she said, I am a woman of the Hebrews, and am fled from them, for they shall be given you to be consumed. And I am coming before Holofernes, the chief captain of your army, to declare words of truth, and I will show him a way whereby he shall go, and win all the hill country, without losing the body or life of any one of his men. Now, when the men heard her words and beheld her countenance, they wondered greatly at her beauty, and said unto her, Thou hast saved thy life, in that thou hast hastened to come down to the presence of our Lord. Now, therefore, come to his tent, and some of us shall conduct thee until they have delivered thee to his hands. And when thou standest before him, be not afraid in thine heart, but show unto him according to thy word, and he will entreat thee well. Then they chose out of them 100 men to accompany her and her maid, and they brought her to the tent of Holofernes. Then was there a concourse throughout all the camp, for her coming was noised among the tents, and they came about her as she stood without the tent of Holofernes, till they had told him of her. And they wondered at her beauty, and admired the children of Yashral because of her. And every one said to his neighbor, Who would despise this people that have among them such women? Surely it is not good that one man of them be left, who, being let go, might deceive the whole earth. And they that lay near Holofernes went out, and all his servants, and they brought her into the tent. Now Holofernes rested upon his bed under a canopy, which was woven with purple and gold and emeralds and precious stones. So they showed him of her. And he came out before his tent with silver lamps going before him. And when Yehudit was come before him and his servants, they all marveled at the beauty of her countenance, and she fell down upon her face and did reverence unto him. And his servants took her up. Then said Holofernes unto her, Woman, be of good comfort, fear not in thine heart, for I never hurt any that was willing to serve Nebuchadnezzar, the king of all the earth. Now therefore, if thy people that dwelleth in the mountains had not set light by me, I would not have lifted up my spear against them. But they have done these things to themselves. But now tell me, wherefore thou art fled from them, and art come unto us? For thou art come for safeguard. Be of good comfort, thou shalt live this night and hereafter, for none shall hurt thee, but entreat thee well, as they do the servants of the king Nebuchadnezzar, my lord. Then Yehudit said unto him, Receive the words of thy servant, and suffer thine handmaid to speak in thy presence, and I will declare no lie to my lord this night. And if thou wilt follow the words of thine handmaid, divinity will bring thee the thing perfectly to pass by thee, and my lord shall not fail of his purposes, as Nebuchadnezzar, king of all the earth, liveth, and as his power liveth, who hath sent thee for the upholding of every living thing, for not only men shall serve thee, shall serve him by thee, but also the beasts of the field, and the cattle, and the fowls of the air shall live by thy power under Nebuchadnezzar and all his house. For we have heard thy wisdom and thy policies, and it is reported in all the earth that thou art only excellent in all the kingdom, and mighty in knowledge, and wonderful in fear and in feats of war. I don't know why I'm making. Our nation shall be punished, neither can the sword prevail against them, except thy sin against their God. Now, one of the words for sin is mistake, and I am sorry I've made more mistakes with this reading. I don't lately. And now that my Lord be not defeated and frustrate of his purpose, even death is now fallen upon them, and their sin hath overtaken them, wherewith they will provoke their God to anger, whensoever they shall do that which is not fit to be done, for the victuals fail them, and all their water is scant, and they have determined to lay hands upon their cattle, and purposed to consume all those things that divinity hath forbidden them to eat by his laws, and are resolved to spend the firstfruits of the kernels and the tenths of wine and oil, which they had sanctified and reserved for the priests that served in Jerusalem before the face of our God, the which things it is not lawful for any of the people so much as to touch with their hands. Is this sort of necessary that, there's a group of people, it's like, well, you people can't take part in all the religious stuff that we take part in. It's like, if you can afford it or whatever, why not? For they have sent some to Jerusalem, because they also that dwell there have done the like, to bring them a license from the Senate. Now, when they shall bring them word, they will forthwith do it, and they shall be given thee to be destroyed the same day. Wherefore I, thine handmaid, knowing all this, am fled from their presence, and divinity hath sent me to work things with thee, whereat all the earth shall be astonished, and whosoever shall hear it. For thy servant is religious, and serveth the divinity of heaven, day and night. Now therefore, my Lord, I will remain with thee, and thy servant will go out by night into the valley, and I will pray unto divinity, and he will tell me when they have committed their sins, and I will come and show it unto thee. Then thou shalt go forth with all thine army, and there shall be none of them that shall resist thee, and I will lead thee through the midst of Yehudah, till thou come before Jerusalem, and I will set thy throne in the midst thereof, and thou shalt drive them as sheep that have no shepherd, and as a dog shall not so much as open his mouth at thee. For these things were told me according to my foreknowledge, and they were declared unto me, and I am sent to tell thee. Then her words pleased Holofernes and all his servants, and they marveled at her wisdom, and said, There is not such a woman from one end of the earth to the other, both for beauty of face and wisdom of words. Now, sometimes it only takes one person with an idea or with what comes through them for the changes to happen because of their influence. Sometimes literally hundreds figure out the same thing at the same time, and then something's possible. But likewise, Holofernes said unto her, Divinity hath done well to send thee before the people, that strength might be in our hands, and destruction upon them that lightly regard my Lord. Now therefore thou art both beautiful in thy countenance and witty in thy words. Surely if thou do as thou hast spoken, thy divinity shall be my divinity, and thou shalt dwell, maybe Alha and Alhi is being used, not divinity, but and thou shalt dwell in the house of the king Nebuchadnezzar, and shalt be renowned throughout the whole earth. And he commanded to bring her in where his plate was set, and bade that they should prepare for her of his own meats, and that she should drink of his own wine. And Judith said, I will not eat thereof, lest there be an offense, but provision shall be made for me of the things that I have brought. Then Holofernes said unto her, If thy provision should fail, how should we give thee the like? For there be none with us of thy nation. Then said Judith unto him, As thy soul liveth, my lord, thine handmaid shall not spend those things that I have done. Before God has known in verb work my hand, the things that he hath determined. Then the servants of Holofernes brought her into the tent, and she slept till midnight. And she arose when it was toward the morning watch, and sent to Holofernes, saying, Let my lord now command that thine handmaid may go forth unto prayer. Dawn prayer is very important. Then Holofernes commanded this guard that they should not stay her. Thus she abode in the camp 3 days, and went out in the night into the valley of Bethulia, and washed herself in the fountain of the water by the camp. And when she came out, she besought God as noun and verb, God of Yisrael, to direct her way to the raising up of the children of her people. So she came in clean and remained in the tent until she did her meat at evening. And in the 4th day Holofernes made a feast unto his own servants only, and called none of the officers to the banquet. And he said to Bagoa the eunuch, who had charge over all that he had, Go now and persuade this Hebrew woman which is with thee, that she should come unto us and eat and drink with us. For lo, it will be a shame for our person if we shall let such a woman go, not having had her company. For if we draw her not unto us, she will laugh us to scorn. Then went Bagoa into the presence of Holofernes, and came to her, and he said, Let not this fair damsel fear to come to my lord, and to be honored with his presence, and drink wine, and be merry with us, and